Hello and welcome to Perspectives, where we take a deep dive into the issues of the day and where we take a look at people's opinion on such issues. I am Ruth Osime. Welcome back to Perspectives here on Arise News. In recent years, Nigeria has witnessed a concerning trend of increasing suicide deaths, particularly amongst young people. The most recent one we have heard of is that of Nick Imudia, who jumped from the balcony of his apartment in Lekki here in Lagos. Imudia was the former chief executive officer of Konga, one of Nigeria's e-commerce giants, and before that, he was the managing director of Nokia for its West and Central Africa operations. At the time of his death, Nick was the managing director of a device, finance, and solar solutions company based in Kenya. Nick Imudia had it all. Great portfolio work-wise, and was a leader par excellence in every single sense. He loved living life and enjoyed it to his fullest. Before his untimely death, he actually called his friend in the United States and told him how to distribute his assets, and also called his daughter to tell her that he would always be near her. His death has left many people in shock, with many saying it's impossible for him to commit suicide because he seemingly had a life many would envy and admire. There are lessons to be learned from this painful loss and about people going through depression. Depression affects both the rich and the poor, young and old, male or female. We have heard stories like Nick Imudia's, one time too many. Others are people who have jumped to their deaths like he did. Some have hung themselves, while others have drank poisonous chemicals such as sniper, which tears the organs of the body apart and results in the most agonizingly painful death of the victim. One then begins to wonder, what mindset leads to these decisions? How tough can a challenge be that would lead one to take one's life? Are we losing hope in human existence? We want to use this moment to discuss the reality of mental health issues, which has attained an alarming rate amongst us. We're heading for a short break, but stay with us because we'll be right back to introduce our wonderful people on the show this morning. Multiple award-winning fashion entrepreneur Jane Michael Ekanem, and the catalyst himself and visionary life coach Lanre Olusola. Perspectives to return in just a moment. Welcome back to Perspective here on Arise News. And we've finally arrived at that point where we bring our special guest into the conversation. And for this particular subject, I'm now being joined by Jane Michael Ekanem, a multiple award-winning creative visionary, celebrated celebrity stylist, designer, and fashion entrepreneur, who has earned accolades for her innovative approach to fashion. Jane Michael's talents have been recognized globally, including for curating fashion for the celebration of African culture event attended by French President Emmanuel Macron. Beyond fashion, Jane Michael is a mental health and wellness advocate, a TEDx speaker, and the Dean of School of Style Africa. Her autobiography, April the 29th, chronicles her life's journey. I also have joining me here Dr. Lanre Olusola, who is referred to as the Catalyst, a visionary life coach who has in over 2 decades transformed the coaching landscape through this innovative approach. Dr. Lanre Olusola established the first comprehensive integrative coaching academy in West Africa and launched Africa's first digital platform, Coach Me Online. He is the founder of Life Coaches Association of Nigeria and a board of trustee member at the International Coach Federation Nigeria. It's a great feeling to say thank you to both of you for answering my call.
Thank you for having us.
Good to see you. Lanre, I want to ask you, there's a stigma related to this mental health issue and also related to the act of suicide. And I wonder why it has not been addressed as a public health problem, because it's becoming very prevalent. You also said something about women and men concerning suicide. So please enlighten us.
All right, thank you very much, Ruth, and it's really an honor and a privilege to be on the platform with you, Jane.
Thank you.
Nigeria is happening to us because we are fundamentally influenced by tradition and culture. we're also fundamentally influenced by our mindset and our belief system. So Nigerians and black people don't think that depression and these kinds of things happen to black people.
Even up to now?
Yeah, they say it's white people's problem, or it's a spiritual attack. It's people from your village that have sent an arrow to you. And, we don't have enough advocates. We don't have enough collaborators with media organizations that are advocating and creating awareness of this phenomenon. 1 in 4 people globally is being affected by mental health.
1 in 4?
1 in 4.
That's high.
Right? So if we talk about the people in this room, at least 2 of us.
Well, have contemplated or have actually thought?
No, have a mental health issue.
Oh, okay.
Now, depression is another issue. 5% of the world's population, as adults, are suffering from depression. So it is a global phenomenon. It has nothing to do with your creed, your age, your race. It has absolutely nothing to do with your gender. It is a problem that we are all facing globally. And, especially post-COVID, it is one of the most critical post-COVID effects. Because for 2 years we were isolated. We were disconnected from, social interactions. And social interactions is very, very important. Hugging people is very, very important. Engaging, interacting, connecting with people face-to-face on a daily basis is very, very important. So these devices that we carry around, mobile phones, text messages, it still connects us. But you need physical interaction. You need physical touch. You need hug. You need to engage eye to eye. And a lot of that is not happening anymore. Because, sometimes I realize that I haven't seen my friend in 6 to 8 months. But it feels like I've been seeing them.
Exactly, because you feel that once you've connected with them through text or through WhatsApp, you've stayed in touch. But you brought something up before I go to Jane. You said that more women attempt and more men succeed in committing suicide. Why is that so?
So 90% of suicide cases is the result of depression. Okay? Now, more women attempt suicide, but more men die from suicide.
As a moment
they go through it.
They go through it, yes.
So women have been nurtured to express their emotions by parents. So if your daughter is feeling unhappy, she's allowed to cry. She's allowed to express herself. What would you do when she does? You bring her, you pet her, and she feels more love.
Well, as men are not supposed to cry.
When the boy cries, you say, suck it up. You're a man. Men don't cry.
Yeah.
So men do not talk about their issues. And men they are not allowed to show vulnerability. And when they do, you are looking at them like, are you a man?
That's so.
And so a lot of men actually at that point where they're dysfunctional, where they're not thinking right, where they're running negative, limiting, disempowering thoughts and beliefs, there's nobody to really open up to and be vulnerable with.
Wow.
So they go through the entire process.
Let's bring Jane in. But Jane, you said there was a point that you hit rock bottom because obviously you're going to tell us about what happened to you concerning your suicide attempt. But at the point you hit rock bottom, tell us what effect this had on your mental health and what made you get to that level.
At the time I hit rock bottom, I couldn't bring myself to realization that Almighty Jane, had nothing. And rock bottom for me was losing everything. I lost my factory. I lost my Prado Jeep. I lost my power bike because I'm a female biker as well. So at that point, I lost every sense of me, every sense of belonging, everything that made me who I am, everything that made me become and have some point of livelihood and, source of income. I lost everything. I even remember, being so much at the rock bottom that I used another Instagram account, a personal Instagram account with a different and isolated name, handle, to beg for money on the comment section, You know, I think it was like 1,000 naira just to eat. Or
So you mean at a point you didn't even have 1,000 naira?
I didn't even
from
have,
having a jeep.
Yes,
from
yes.
having a business.
And it's not like I didn't have family, but because I had a mental breakdown at that time as well, I had isolated myself from friends and family who genuinely loved me. You know, I had triggers of anxiety and all of that. But yes, let's not digress too much. But that was what happened, you know, when I hit. That was what rock bottom was like for me.
But have you always had these triggers? Or what made this trigger become so prominent to the extent that you lost everything in the process? How did this start?
I think it started from lifestyle. Taking certain jobs that were not necessarily paying, but then, you know,
mileage.
You just wanted to have something to, you know, let me do this job, it will bring more jobs, you know, without thinking it through, and then doing jobs that at the end of the day you're running at a loss because you're not thinking it through and thinking about the consequences and the project all through the end. You didn't sit down enough to plan. And that's part of the reasons why these days when people give me jobs, I don't take jobs in a hurry. You know, give me at least 2 days to think it through and think about the consequences and let me know everything that is required of the job.
Okay.
So I don't shoot myself in the leg.
Okay, let me ask you, you know, contrary to prevalent narratives, most suicides do not occur suddenly. Do you understand? And they're usually preceded by warning signals, or, you know, so what are these signals that you need to look out for in people that at least you know?
All right, so leaning in from what Jenny said, right, is your life suddenly changes. Things that you used to master, you no longer have mastery over them. Things that you had control over, you no longer have control over them. You now start feeling overwhelmed. So life situation completely changes. Then you start thinking, is this me? How can this be me? And then you go to a whole sense of helplessness, powerlessness. Then you start thinking, you know, the world is against me. How can this be happening to me? Then you no longer care about the things that you care about. You are no longer passionate about the things that you are passionate about. Anxiety sets in. Panic sets in. Then you lack self-esteem. You lack self-belief. Your self-confidence goes. Then you stop sleeping.
Oh, is that what happened to you, Jane?
Yes.
You stopped sleeping?
Yes.
Everything he has described now is exactly what you
Yes,
went through?
I almost asked him, have you been through this as well? Because he's saying it in steps and all of that. And the moment you begin to lack sleep, that's a very good opportunity for anxiety to kick in. And once anxiety kicks in, every other thing regarding mental breakdown or whatever it may be, you know, is you're just exposed to it.
Yeah.
You know, and may I surprise you, I was introduced to weed eventually.
Okay, what was the experience like? What was that experience like?
At some point, I found solace in it, you know, but then it became an addiction. And I must say that I was not introduced. All my years, I've worked in the entertainment industry for almost 2 decades. I was never introduced to weed in the entertainment industry. However, it was an insider that introduced me to it. And by the grace of God, with a good support system, primarily family and primarily my elder sister, they have been able to help me and fight this battle with me. And I have been clean for almost a year.
So, but at the time when you took the weed, how did it make you feel? Did it make you feel better?
Of course. At that point, I felt better. I felt good. And I just wanted to keep feeling good. I just wanted more. The moment, there's never enough, you know. Once you find that peace, you just want more of that peace, you know. So that was it. It was my peace and it became an addiction.
Okay.
And leaning into what she's saying, right? Once you stop sleeping, And once you have a bout of anxiety, panic attack, and sleeplessness, you start getting restless.
Yeah.
You start withdrawing, and you start isolating yourself
Exactly.
from people.
Exactly.
Then, you know, it was something that she said that I thought was very, very important. She lost everything.
Yes.
So one trigger was he went into grief. Now, a lot of people don't realize that grief is not when you lose somebody. Grief is how you feel when you lose something.
Exactly.
So if you've suffered grief before, right, it is extremely traumatic and painful. If you stay in that funk, you don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to take a bath. You draw your blinds. You don't want to see light. You don't want to take a bath. You don't want to step out. Sometimes
Exactly.
you don't even eat anymore.
Yeah.
And then you are looking for something to depend on. In that case, in her case, it was weed. In other people's cases, it is alcohol.
Yes.
So when all of this is happening, you start having mind fixations on the fact that you are not good enough, on the fact that the world is against you, on the fact that everybody is your enemy. And it is a better choice for you to take your life than to stay alive. Now, when you get there, we call that the state of despondency.
Okay, now that you say that, but there are people, like for instance, this Nick guy that just committed suicide, he was a happy-go-lucky guy. We've also seen videos of people where they will tell you this is the video of the person just before the person took their lives.
Yes.
The person was dancing, the person was happy, the person. So that now also makes me wonder that
My
there are
first attempt, I created, that was the birth of School of Style.
Okay, but wait, we'll get back to that. But I want to ask, because I'll ask you about that soon, but I want to ask, even when they seem happy, how can you now tell that they have...
Okay, so you...
No, let Jane answer,
okay,
because because you seemed happy to the world.
Yes.
So how could the
Yes.
world have been able to know that you were going through what you were going through?
Nobody knows. You know, most times, I think people who get to the point of breaking down to committing suicide is because we are empath, most of us. You know, we want to create solutions for the world. We want the world to see us as a perfect human being. I realized that for me, at the time when I was ready to go at that time, you know,
You said you just created...
I had to
company.
do something that, okay, so when I leave the world eventually, you know, it would be talked about, I will be remembered for something. And I'm that happy child, I'm the happy good fellow, I'm the happiest person in the midst of everyone, you know. So that's what usually happens to us. But then we find it so hard to speak out, to speak up, or tell someone how we genuinely feel. And I think that COVID was a prior solution for me, because regardless of how I started finding my way through it, you know, when COVID happened, I couldn't help it anymore. I came out, it was like a public outburst of, guys, this thing is not working. There is nothing working here. You know, let me tell you, you know, and I was ready to expose everything, even top businesses that took advantage of my creativity. I was ready to expose them and all of that. But as God may have it, my elder sister came to arrest the situation, and we have been on the journey to wellness, you know, till we are here.
Let me ask, so does that mean during this your journey of feeling suicidal, you had your highs and lows?
Yes.
There were moments where you went through serious melancholy, there were moments when you went through excitement, happiness, whatever. So, so Lanre, that means it's like a yo-yo. 1 minute you are up there, next minute you are down there. So it's not as if it's one lull.
It's a roller
all
coaster.
through. So it's a roller coaster.
So the journey,
yes,
the journey is like that, right? But when you consistently have those symptoms that I've spoken about back to back every day for 2 weeks, then you are getting to an alarming state and stage where the tendency to take your life is highest.
Okay, but now that you say that, how do you now support people with suicidal thoughts or feelings? What do you now do? to enable, to at least help them get out of this
The very first thing is you have
situation?
you have to know the symptoms.
You as a loved one
Yes.
and you as a friend.
Yes, parents, friends, siblings, everybody needs to be educated.
Awareness. Awareness
And
is
that's
key.
where awareness comes in. Everybody needs to know. So it's not just about you. It's about understanding the telltale signs and knowing and really genuinely caring. You know, this was the root of, hi, how are you? But we have turned how are you into another greeting. Check in with people to really ask how they are. And really, really let them be able to tell you how they are feeling. But you know what? When they ask you how you are, great. In Nigeria now, if you're not feeling well health-wise, you say, I'm strong. All of those things we need to, begin to deal with it. If you're not feeling fine, say you're not feeling fine. If you are feeling sad, if you are feeling heavy, if you are feeling burdened, if you are feeling depressed, say you are, so that we can know. But here, if you say that you are, they look at you that, you don't have faith. Especially, the religious, people. They look at you that, no, don't say that, we're in denial. And so we that were siblings, parents, and family and friends, we need to know the telltale, we need to know the signs. And once you see that your friend that used to be jovial, your friend that you talk to 4 times a day, then you start calling her, and she didn't pick up the phone day 1, and it's never happened before. Day 2, it's never happened before. So it's not the time to call anymore, it's time to go there. And go and sit with her and find out exactly what is happening with her. Don't just sit with her, stay with her.
I also think the economy too also plays a prominent role, because
Yes, it does.
people are already burdened. I'm not justifying lack of attention or lack of awareness, but people themselves are already burdened with their own issues.
Yeah.
So much as they might want to reach out, do you understand? Maybe they will reach out once or twice, and by the time they attend to your need or what have you, they are too distracted and overwhelmed by their own issues, which everybody has in Nigeria. Nigeria is a tough place to live, like you said. Nigeria happens to you.
I think the primary solution to this is creating more awareness.
Exactly.
And creating more helplines.
I was just going to say that,
unfortunately, we've had situations where therapists, especially in Nigeria, have taken advantage of the situation.
How so?
And even made
How so?
appointments more expensive than
Oh.
even medication itself.
Wow.
So I'm trying to ensure that I build a platform where it allows, now you can call on WhatsApp internationally and you're not feeling the burden. And we have so many therapists globally that are willing to work with us at a token or free, and that's what I'm trying to ensure I do, to cushion. And when there is more demand, when there is more supply, scarcity subsides, and then the price
drops.
also drops. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Because people have
because it's now an alarming situation.
Yes, it is.
There was even a time where they mentioned that they were building another psychiatric hospital because Yaba Psychiatric Hospital is constantly full, and it's getting to our doorsteps.
Yes, it is. It is already there.
It's not in my family trait, but I had a mental breakdown. I was diagnosed at first with psychosis and then bipolar, so it's now here right in front of us. And what do we do? And look at it now. This man just committed suicide. Does he have to lead to death before we sit up and, it's just about time.
Okay, you said you had a public meltdown. Tell us what happened
when what happened was that I called out so many people. Like, the first person I called was my elder sister. As a matter of fact, it happened on April 1st, so people thought it was April Fool's stunt. I called out my family. I even called out Auntie Mo Abudu, called out people. And just like I had mentioned, and Uncle Olusola had mentioned too, you begin to see everyone as an enemy, as a threat, you know. And I was just calling out people, and
What were you saying to them?
that they were mean to me, they didn't like me.
Are you serious?
Yes. They were, you know, I even put out the picture of me being in the psychiatric hospital initially. You know, I put out the card that it wasn't a joke and all of that. And people were like, how can the Jane that we all know to be a happy, you know, jolly fella coming down to rock that? Then people knew that it was a rock bottom situation. So that was what happened.
Okay, but Lanre, when people are struggling with suicides, and or people, you see that they're struggling with suicide, but they are in denial. They don't think that that's what the problem is. How do you convince them? How do you arrest the situation before it gets to that level?
So the loved one has to take charge. And this is, you know, the point that I was trying to make, you know, your family, or that your
Yeah, but
friend,
the person doesn't think that there's anything wrong with them.
You have to check the person into therapy.
How do you check them? Do you physically carry them? How
Yes,
do
you physically carry them. Because they're in a state of dysfunction. So it's not like malaria where you physically feel ill and then you can drive yourself to, you know, the hospital. Yeah?
Yes.
That's not the situation.
No, but they don't think there's anything. They haven't accepted that there's
but
something wrong
mentally,
with them.
and they don't write on your forehead.
Yeah.
Mentally, psychologically, emotionally, the person is down and out. You, as a loved one, you, as a friend, you need to hijack them and check them in.
Okay, we're going on a break. I would like to pursue that further still. But we're going on a break. Please don't go anywhere. Listen to this. It's a very, very deep episode, and I hope we'll learn one or two things from it by the end of this. So we'll grab you a cup of tea, as I always say. See you right back soon on Perspectives. Welcome back to Perspectives. So Jane, let's get to you. You actually attempted suicide.
Yes, I did.
How many times did you attempt it, and what did you do? What stopped you?
I attempted suicide twice.
The first time was me trying to hang myself in the room, you know, with the fan, the rope on the fan. And fortunately for me, my house help walked in and noticed that, and that was my first savior or my domestic staff at that time, you know, noticed what happened, and, you know, that was how we cried it out and talked it out on our level at that time and prayed about it. The second attempt was...
How long after did you try again?
This was, I think, 3 years after, because this was, you know, the first, when I came out, when I opened up, this was just when they declared the lockdown, during the lockdown, during COVID, you know, and I came out publicly and making people aware that I had a mental breakdown. When I came back from the psychiatric hospital, what I saw about myself was too demoralizing. I'm one person who you would never find any scandal about me. As a matter of fact, till today, if you have to search for any scandal, it's still what I did in 2020. That's all you'd see about me. So I wanted to live this perfectly right lifestyle, and then I came back and all I'm seeing everywhere and the messages I'm getting is, oh, you know, Jane had a mental. And I put out one picture of me almost naked. I had a photo shoot on my power bike at that time. So I put it out to let people know that I was very serious about that conversation at that time. So that broke me down, that I felt that I wasn't societally perfect, you know. And I bought the sniper that same 2020, that certainly it was going to be useful. However, the female biking community, and this is where I have to say people should stop saying that women don't support women, because the female biking community supported me for almost 2 years with a token to be able to buy my toiletries since I was clearly out of business, you know. And when they broke the news to me at that time that the money they had raised to sustain me had finished, and this was the last month they were giving, you know, and the money was finishing, and I said, okay, oh well, I might as well just use the sniper this time around. Wow. And I didn't have any money in my account. I had gone to beg with my other Instagram accounts for money, and nobody was paying attention to it because people thought I was one of those other people who just come to beg. And besides, they didn't know it was me, you know. That was gone by the way. No money, no data. Okay, let me just wrap up this data that I have left. And once it's done, I take the sniper and I go and meet my creator. And then Alex Ekubo posts something inspiring about one not giving up, about one paying attention to, you know, life and the positive side of life. That message was for me. I couldn't have seen it in any other way. But guess what? I just tossed the sniper away last year. And I'm not going to say that I haven't faced challenges, and I don't think I would stop facing challenges. However, I have been able to navigate life in a more better way.
Okay. Are you on medication or anything?
Yes, I'm still on medication. Not just medication. I'm on medication. I'm on therapy. And I'm deeply rooted in the Word of God. I'm deeply rooted and spiritually inclined with my Creator. Okay. And that has been like my foundation to understanding how to navigate life better.
Okay, but you know, now
Sorry.
that Jane Michael, has spoken about her situation, you can tell that obviously for anybody to be bold enough to even take the step of committing suicide is not in the right place mentally, which is why I cannot figure out why it's being criminalized in Nigeria. How can they say if you attempt suicide, you'll be sentenced or you'll be jailed? What do you think about that? The criminalization of suicide.
So
doesn't that make it worse?
This is part of what needs to change in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Our policies are archaic. Our mental health policies are archaic. When they wrote those policies, it was in the 90s. And what we know about mental health now is different from what we knew about mental health. So we need to upgrade it. And some people are working on that.
Okay, that's good to know.
We just hope that we can fast track it.
It needs to be fast tracked because the last thing you want to hear is, that you survived attempted suicide and then you're going to jail for it. How does that make any sense?
And that will push people to make sure they succeed.
Okay. What about the loved ones?
In terms of if you attempt and you are caught and you know you go to jail, that attempt must work. Do you understand? It's a lose-lose for you.
Yes,
so make sure that it works so that you are not arrested and jailed. But, speaking to, government and our policies, we need to sponsor that bill. That bill needs to change.
Okay, but loved ones also are suffering from, loved ones of people who have committed suicide can also fall into depression. There's always that stigma of your child or your husband or your brother or your sibling committed suicide. Do you understand? So are there therapeutic sessions that loved ones of people who have committed suicide can go to be enable them better handle the awkwardness of the situation?
I think Jane should even share with us how her family felt
yes,
after she put out all of that information so that people that are considering suicide understand what they will put, the trauma that their family will face.
Actually, that's a good question.
So it took a bit over 3 years for me to almost completely reconcile with my family because of that act that I did, because I put out my brother-in-law's number on social media, and he's an extreme private person. Until today, as I speak with you, that number is still being bugged.
Wow.
Because of that act that I did.
What did you put what did you put his number out there?
I
for?
called him out, called out my sister, put his picture there and put his number there, that he's the one that gave my sister the money to take me to the first psychiatric hospital. So it's,
Because at the time you were going through what you were going through, you were purely selfish in your emotions.
Yes.
You didn't realize the impact.
I didn't
mean, we
realize
spoke
the
to your
big
sister
impact.
just before we entered.
Yes,
And
yes.
we could see the pain
Yes.
in her voice when she was talking about
Yeah.
how you fought your nieces and nephews that you were totally in love with.
Yes.
But you make such a big fuss and you almost
Yeah.
cut them off.
Yes.
So I want people watching this show to realize that yes, you might be going through what you're going through and we understand
you have to
that.
think about-
but you have to realize the
Yeah.
impact that you're leaving behind. Because some of these people, some of these loved ones never recover.
Yes.
In fact, right, so
Yeah.
so speaking to family and your
Yes.
support system and your friends is this is one of the points that we need to make
Yes.
to prevent it.
Yes.
Because the victim is not thinking right.
Yes.
In fact,
Yes.
the victim is in a state of dysfunction. They are selfish, they are self-centered, and they want to end it. So they're not thinking about you.
Okay, that's
Can
you're
I
right.
quickly
You're right.
correct you there? I would not particularly say that they are being selfish. They have gotten frustrated to the point that, what will be should be. Because I know I was battling with my mind at that time, Jane, don't do this. I'm like, if it has to get to me finding my peace, I might as well do this.
But I think what
So-
Larry
so,
means
yeah.
is not so much
So-
selfish as in, it's almost as if because you are dysfunctional, you are thinking of just yourself. You're not
thinking
realizing
about
the impact.
Finding your own peace.
Yes,
Whatever
finding your
it
own
is
peace.
that will
Yes.
give
At
you
the
peace.
cost
At
of
that
the
time,
pain that
yes.
you leave after your
Yes.
exit.
Yes.
So it's not so much selfish as in
You don't care.
you don't care. It's
You care about yourself in that moment.
Yes.
And you are trying to resolve the best way that you can
Yes.
Yes.
the situation.
without thinking
and
of the
escape-
consequences
Yes.
of that
escape
action.
the
Yes.
pain and the trauma
Yes.
in that moment.
Yes.
And this is why family also need to get involved. Because you will be affected. There is absolutely no way. Because you talked about, and I understand that Nigeria is happening to everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody is hustling. Everybody have their own issues. But when this happens, everything that you're hustling for will stop.
Yeah, it will seem
Exactly.
insignificant. That's so true.
It will
That's
be so
true.
insignificant, and this will take over
And
your
then the
life.
guilt trip.
Oh yes,
Oh,
that
my
you didn't
God.
do it.
The
You didn't
guilt
help
trip,
her.
yes.
You didn't support her. So it is important that we because we are our own social services system. We are the ones that take care of our loved ones, right? Because there's no social services system. Incorporate this into your social service system. And realize that, I am going to be checking in on everybody every week, number one. Number two, in flipping the narrative, how do we overcome this? Now, exercise is very, very important.
Lifestyle.
Change your lifestyle. So
Lifestyle.
once you find that someone, right, has tendencies, right, to for suicide ideation, for depression, you have to get involved in their lives and change their lifestyle. Now, you were talking about the fact that you've set up a platform to help people. We must do more of that. We must put out content for free. We must set up platforms for free. We must put out help tips out there for free
Yes.
to help people. Even with the people that are listening today, it is very, very important because there's something we call the weather's effect.
Weather's effect.
Weather's effect. Anytime that people go on air to talk about suicide, the rate of suicide goes up.
Wow.
And so for me, it was important for us to talk about her platform and to talk about the products that I'm going to be giving out for free from now. If anybody is watching this program and listening, right, just go to my Instagram and ask for help. And I don't know what your platform is. Reach out to
My
her
platform is mindfulme.wellness. It's on Instagram as well.
and
It's
reach
again?
out.
Mindfulme.wellness.
Okay.
However, I have a company called Ayaya Africa, which is doing all we can to support not just the educational initiative, we are also supporting mental health and also waste management initiatives as well.
I wanted to even ask, you know how you have Alcoholic Anonymous and what have you? I mean, when you watch all these movies, you see where they go to some place and they're sitting in a round circle and everybody's sharing their notes and exchanging stories, what have you. Do we have anything like that for mental health?
Yes, we do. We do.
Where are they?
If you Google, Google is your friend now. If you
Yes.
Google support systems,
Okay.
you will find. If you
Okay.
NGOs that are, helping you,
Okay.
you would find. But the person that is going through it will not Google.
Okay, that's
It is the person that is their families, their friends, that notices it, that needs to be armed with it. That's the first thing. Also, they need therapy instantly. They need help instantly. Now, prevention is about lifestyle change. Being outdoors is very, very important. Exercise is very, very important. Self-care is very, very important.
Drinking lots of clean water.
Water. Very, very,
As
very, very
simple as that seems, it goes a long way. Ensure you drink clean, trusted water.
okay.
It helps. It would take you a long way. Eat healthy. Don't take your fruits and vegetables for granted. It is paramount that you eat healthy. And sometimes, let us start asking the right questions. What did these successful people do to become successful? And they are open about it. What did Oprah do? What did Obama do? What did Mark Zuckerberg do? What did Elon Musk do? What lifestyle did he live to become this successful? The irony, all of them have similar lifestyle, procedures, which is, sleep well, sleep at least 7 hours, even if you have to take naps in between. When you work for a certain number of time, you need to take breaks, and this is why when people now call me for jobs, I tell them if I'm working on a stretch for 4 to 5 hours, I need 1 hour break. I could work in the past 24 hours and sleep for 30 minutes, and I didn't know I was endangering myself, and this is what it is. You cannot cheat nature.
I know you cannot.
Nature would always find its way back at you.
But that is somebody who has a seemingly okay lifestyle. Sometimes some of these suicidal tendencies come from depression.
Yeah.
It could be depression for lack of a job. It could be depression because you have been kicked out of your house. It could be depression because you cannot pay your children's school fees. There's so many triggers. So sometimes, as much as you say what you say, this applies to the Imudias of the world who had good jobs, who had professional jobs that could sustain a lifestyle. What about people who already have challenging situations?
I don't totally agree with that because, again, that's why I would still come back to you being spiritually inclined.
That's what I was trying to address.
And then, in almost all spiritual doctrines, it teaches one to be grateful at all time. Once you live a life of gratitude, for me, it's the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit begins to tell you and redirect you
I understand that.
to how.
But my point is that there are people who are living lives that they don't want to live because of circumstances. Like you said, Nigeria happens to you. So what I want to know is that when Nigeria happens to you, quote unquote, you can't pay rent, you can't pay school fees, the food that you were buying before is now 4 times the amount. What the average Nigeria is going through, how do you now address the situation in such a way where you do not fall into depression enough to want to commit suicide?
Fantastic. So in having this conversation, right, there are many approaches to it. The safest approach for all of us is our lifestyle. Do not wait. Prevention is better than cure. Do not wait to get into the funk. So one of the things that I've done is I've created 50 things that you must do every day, every week, every month. Simple things that we have talked about.
Even though all these challenges are
Yes.
in front of you.
Yes.
In spite of your challenges,
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
you can exercise.
Yes.
In spite of your challenges, you should be grateful for life and breath.
Yes.
Because you know what? It can even be worse. In
Yes.
spite of your challenges,
So your way of thinking has to be
Yes.
more positive,
Mindset.
regardless of the negativity.
situation,
Yes.
in spite
Exactly.
of the situation,
Exactly.
in
That's
what
spite
I was
of the
trying to get to.
situation,
Exactly.
sleep between 6 to 8 hours. This is very, very important. Sleep deprivation is a major trigger, right? Maybe you may not be able to go and eat in a restaurant, but cook for yourself. But you need to spice pepper. It's very, very important.
Oh, why?
Oh, yeah. So
I don't like pepper.
You need to be able to, because pepper boosts your endorphins.
Oh.
Endorphins, right, is the body's natural
Is that the one that
painkiller.
brings happiness?
No, that's dopamine
Okay,
and
dopamine,
oxytocin.
okay.
So the body of knowledge that I was talking about, the 50 tips that will help you boost your dose of dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins.
Okay.
These 3 happy hormones are very, very important. If you can keep your dose of dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins high every day, you will be doing yourself the greatest.
So in other words, you need to eat as much pepper as possible.
Pepper is for endorphins.
Okay.
Spicy. Don't kill yourself, though. but people that don't eat pepper,
I don't even like
right?
pepper at all.
Their threshold for managing pain is low.
Oh, that's very
Especially
true, actually.
emotional
Now that you
pain,
say that.
physical
Oh,
pain. Yeah,
really?
their threshold for managing
Wow.
pain is very, very low.
That is
If
so
you want
true.
to boost your pain threshold, pepper, please, pepper.
Be careful before some people go and eat tatashi.
No, not they go and eat raw pepper. And I said to them, build it up, because you need to be able to build it up. Going for massage, very,
Spa.
very important. Spa. If you cannot pay the expensive spas, there
Swim.
are
Local one. I was just
Even
going to say.
swimming as well.
Swimming too is very important. But most importantly is social interaction. Hugging. Yeah.
Oh, so it's
Hug.
does it really make that much?
Hey, hug.
Wow.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Hugging every day. Very important. Very, very important.
What about hugging teddy bears? Or does
Oh,
it
yeah.
have to be human?
I was asking-
Yes.
That's a good one.
Having a
That's
pet.
a good one.
Pets.
Yes.
Pets are very, very key.
Oh, okay.
Also, dogs are very, very key. But physical contact is very, very
I would never have
important.
thought that.
Oh, yeah. Hugging. Oh, there's something that physical contact and hugging does. It is-
Really?
Oh, yeah. Very, very
Could be your
important.
loved one or anybody
Yes.
special.
Very, very important. Get
We're
at least
definitely getting hugs before we
eight
go today.
hugs a day. A minimum of 8 hugs a day. So I'm going to make the 50 tips to boost your dose of those available. There's also, she talked about your spiritual life.
Yeah, that's
There
important.
are 4 prayer books that I've written that I'm making available for free. There is a 12-track affirmation that I've created, because what you hear is very,
What
very
you
important.
listen to.
What you listen
and
to.
I
is
created
very-
a playlist for mental health on Spotify.
Okay.
Yes, it's also called Mindful Me.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
Lanre Olusola. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Jane Michael Ekanem.
Thank
I hope
you.
that those that have watched this episode would leave here with take a leaf or two from what you guys have said, because this is
Thank
an
you.
issue that we must always continue to address. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here
you.
with us on
Thank you for
Perspective.
having us. Thank
Lanre, as usual, in-house customer.
Thank you.
so
We're
much for
back
being here.
again.
We're back again, and
Yeah.
see you again much sooner
Awesome.
than later. Thank you so much, Jane.
Thank you,
God
Auntie
bless you.
Ruth, for having me.
Thank you. Okay. Now, societal people often think, quite incorrectly, that everyone and the world at large will be better off without them. Every suicide is a tragedy that affects families and communities and has long-lasting effects on the people left behind. Given the high rate at which Nigerians commit suicide, it's not enough to just talk about it. One of the greatest challenges today is giving suicide-prone people the urgent treatment that could save their lives. All hands as Lanre just said, and also Jane Michael, must be on deck from both public and private sectors to tackle this very dangerous problem. And always remember, like I say, life is a learning curve. That's all we have time for today. You've been watching Perspectives here on Arise News with me, Ruth Osime. This is where we'll drop anchor on this episode. And until we'll come your way, same time next week by His grace, do stay safe and have a splendid week.